it's funny to think about how I got here today. How I got to this very chair, how I am the man that I am today. And I can chalk it up mostly to the people who have invested in my life. The men and the women who have seen something in Brennan and sat him down and had coffee and invested in me. And the reason that I would consider myself a servant leader in training is because of other servant leaders who invested in me. They say one of the most powerful things that you can put into somebody is an idea. And somebody put this idea inside of me that leading doesn't necessarily mean being on top. And leading can be from the bottom. And I think Jesus was the first to show us that. Jesus was the very first to serve, to not abuse the power that he was given by his Father. He was the first. And as a youth pastor, I've got a team of 10 people that I work with. And to help them better understand this idea of what a servant leader is, I'm going to walk them through it, a 2-year process. And 2 years sounds like, oh my gosh, how's that possible? But I have the liberty of slowly revealing this idea of servant leadership because I know they're probably going to be with me for the next 2 years. So I've decided to span it out over 2 years. And the first year is going to be heavily group setting. So we're going to meet once a month for the first year, and it will be in a group. And half the time it will be probably at a Panera, and we'll be going over a book study. And I've got about 10 books chosen. And the other half of the time we'll be going on what I'm calling excursions. And excursions are an intentional immersion that I put the leaders through to experience serving, to experience compassion, to experience what it means to offer up something to somebody else without getting anything in return, maybe besides gratification. So, and the starting place for us is going to start with, who are you? How has God designed you and made you? And so I'm a very big believer in that you are never going to get to where you want to go until you understand where you're at. And so we're going to walk through a personality test called MBTI. That's the one I'm most familiar with. And so we're going to walk through that. They're all going to take it. And then we're going to talk about what it means that you are an ENFP. What does that mean? What does that mean for you? And so each person is going to walk through that, and we're going to talk as a group and discover each other's differences and realize that that's okay. And it's very okay to be an introvert. After we've kind of agreed upon, like, it's okay that this is the way that God made you, that's okay. Then we're going to walk through a book called Ragamuffin Gospel. It's written by Brennan Manning. It is an incredible, incredible book based around this idea that the gospel's for ragamuffins. And that you and I, no matter how much we've messed up, are still so, so deeply loved by God at our core. And that idea can be radically life-changing. So, because if we're trying to draw up servant leaders, if we're trying to build servant leaders, you can't ask somebody to show compassion on somebody else if their life is an absolute wreck. If they don't have compassion to give, they're not going to give it. It's like asking a homeless person, like, hey man, would you come tithe to my church? That'd be great. That's not a reality. He doesn't have anything to give. So we have to empower our leaders, empower our team, that they have something to offer up. And that it's okay that this is the way that God has designed you, and you have something to offer. The most precious thing you can offer, which is compassion and love and your time for somebody else. So we are going to draw a huge emphasis on just wrecking the social structure of the corporate ladder idea. That is going to be just wrecked. And from there, we are going to rebuild and rebuild horizontally. That there is no social status. Yes, we know that there is one, but in our eyes, we don't have to view one. And so, after that first year of walking through books together and walking through immersions. Oh, and one of the immersions, one of the very first ones we're going to do is we're going to head down to an organization called Loaves and Fishes. Loaves and Fishes is a homeless shelter that services almost 1,000 guys a day. And I volunteered there for the past almost 4 years. And it is probably one of the most instrumental things that I can say has helped me better perceive other people. And so what we're going to go down there and we're going to serve, whether it's serving a meal or just sitting down and having a conversation and telling them, look, you need to find out 5 things about six different people. And when you begin to hear somebody's story about how they end up on the streets, that changes you. That does something inside of here that I can't do. So after that, we'll do one of the most important things, which will be to reflect. It'll be me asking simple questions about what does this look like for you? How does this change how you perceive things or how you interact at home or in the workplace or wherever you are? So after that first year, it will be a lot of self-discovery. It will be a lot of, hopefully, fulfilling them with this idea of compassion so they can have compassion on others. The second year is going to be built on this idea of a one-on-one mentorship. So I will be hand-picking their mentors, and they are going to be people who I highly perceive as servant leaders, people who serve first and lead second, and people who want to invest in the next generation or in another person. And so the great thing about servant leaders is they often do. And so for that entire year, they're going to sit down with somebody who's going to mentor them, who's going to walk through their life, who's going to get in the nitty-gritty of things, and just ask them hard questions like, hey, what does it look like for you to serve your family? What does that look like? Like, tangibly, really, like, what does that look like? What does it look like for you to serve in your job? Whether you're a mailman, a garbage man, or a CEO of Bank of America. And so they're going to walk them through and ask them a lot of those intimate questions that won't necessarily get asked in the group setting. And then after that, there's not necessarily going to be a stamp of approval like, woohoo, you're a servant leader, go get him. I'm going to give them a gift. And that gift is throughout the entire process that they're going to be walking through this servant leadership training, I am going to have a journal for each one, a blank journal for each one. And I'm going to be praying each day for each individual person. So it could be one sentence or an entire page that I will be writing down. And at the end of 2 years, I'll hand them that book. And my hope and my prayer is that this is what servant leadership looks like. Offering up others, praying for others with getting nothing in return. And so through that, I hope to inspire, and even if it's just one person or a little gleam of hope, what it means to be a servant leader, to serve people first, to lead naturally second. And we'll see.